So welcome in, everyone. Yeah, I got Final Fantasy II NES World Record. Very unfortunately, it was off stream. I wanted to play yesterday because I was pretty tilted after the Sunday session. But I only wanted to do like exactly one attempt. So with this game kind of having like a death marker at the like 30 hour and hour 45-ish mark, like I didn't want to just stream for like an hour and then call it. So I was like, I'm going to do exactly one attempt. If it dies, it dies. If it's good, it's good. And lo and behold, it was good. It was great. Until it wasn't, but we'll get to that later. So what I kind of want this to serve as um, is yeah, like a basically go over the run, actually analyze the run, talk about the run. Because I kind of get to talk about some things when I'm actually running, but the game requires a lot of focus. So I don't always get to like talk about everything, right? So just going to play the video. We'll crack on. And yeah, we'll start. So if anyone has questions, actually happy to answer them for a change. Hello. And yeah, and I'll just otherwise like talk through the run itself and other such things. That is going to be a little bit loud. So I guess one thing to go over, like actually really quickly, like pretty much straight away, I timed this game differently than speedrun.com because when I first started learning this game, I was learning no major glitches. And that times from new game to the music fade out. So that's just how I'm used to timing the game, and I didn't feel like changing. So for the world record splits, I just added like 4 seconds because that's about how long it takes. That opening battle was also really good. Preempt that killed all the front row attackers. Anyone in the back row actually can't be hit with physical attacks. So it's minimum 2 turns because even if one targets Maria, it won't kill her. Dialogue as well can be mashed with every single button. So while this is happening, I'm actually rotating the D-pad and mashing A and B at the same time. And I was using this incredibly yellowed NES dog bone controller. This is on hardware as well, this world record. As opposed to emulator, but we'll get to that later. I'll talk about that during Berserk Tomes. Every single piece of movement in this game is like, you have to do it almost perfectly. There's a couple moments where you hard reset, which kind of like starts you from a fresh slate. But all this movement, I have no room to make mistakes because of what I'll get to in a moment. So what you're going to see me do is, if I move one more tile from here, I'm going to get an encounter. So basically what you can do, I'm going to do a quick menu here before it, which is not optimal, but it's just how I'm used to doing it. So save, reload the save, get the encounter, and then soft reset and reload again. So that's a lot to take in. So basically what's happening here and why I'm about to save like 20 seconds on my PB is when you actually confirm what slot you want to save to, it saves it instantly. But if you click no, it like undoes it. So what I'm doing is saving, not letting it ask me if I want to save, if I'm sure I want to save, because then that will sort of undo the save. So committing to the slot, very quickly soft resetting, reloading the save, because that's quicker than saying, yes, I want to save, and then closing the menu. So save, reset, load, walk, reset, load. By saving one tile before the encounter, walking into the encounter, you don't even need to see the flash for the random encounter. As long as the game detects the like direction input, it'll give you credit for the encounter. So then you can soft reset and keep walking as if you got the encounter, which is really nice. It makes things very, very fast. In a normal run, this is the only encounter that you hope to see. And it serves as a good opportunity to put the Thunder Tome in Maria's hand, which is normally not meant to be able to be done. That's one of the glitches that's used, is tomes in a party member's hands. So the Thunder Tome in someone's hand will give them maximum agility. Maximum agility and evasion, I think. which lets you flee from battles very, very easily, without having to like grind or wait, which is very, very nice. There's a bunch of potions here as well. I think they're all potions. Yes, they are. Potions we'll use in a bit. Let me know if the audio is good as well. I'll crank the audio a little bit. So yeah, even in these screens, basically, you can still get encounters, right? You can you have a danger value that when it hits a certain amount, you're going to get an encounter. So on those screens in towns and such, in like the inn and the towns, even if there's safe areas where you can't get encounters, that counter that determines whether or not you'll get an encounter is still rolling. As opposed to something like Final Fantasy VIII, where all of that stuff is paused. Like, those values just pause when you're in a safe area. In this game, they don't pause. They continue going. It's just that it'll reset to 0 without even trying to give you an encounter. It's a safe area. So all of the movement so far has had to be, like, perfect down to the tile. Not anything crazy, like, down to the frame. But basically, if I move, you know, an extra tile, I'm going to cut this corner, like, at the start of the forest. If I moved an extra tile down, that means all of my encounters later are going to be, you know, because I need 2 tiles to correct that. Every encounter that I'm going to expect in the first dungeon will be 2 tiles sooner, which is, it can be devastating sometimes. Coming up is, I think, a time save I found over world record. I think just because they didn't know that you could do this at the time. So we show Hilda the ring. I actually missed it. That was kind of embarrassing. We learn Mithril, say Mithril to her, get Minwu for the party, and then you can actually get Dreadnought and Airship keywords here. The keyword system is very important. But yeah, that 22-second time save is because of, I didn't know how to properly reset for encounters. I just thought because on an emulator you can do it on keyboard. I thought that he was just doing it faster. I didn't realize how it actually worked until I started to like fiddle with it. So I'm really glad that I did. It does make things a bit hard. When I play, I actually use the controller with my hands and I press the reset button with my toe. So we're gonna buy 13 potions here. This is technically, for now, 1 extra. I shouldn't buy 13 yet. I should probably just buy 12. But I'm gonna need to buy them anyway, so it doesn't matter. Leaving at the top here as well. That's something that a couple of older world records didn't have. I think world record also hard resets here to fix the movement, but I found that if you don't hard reset, you skip 2 encounters. I think it's 1 on the world map and 1 in the Mithril Cave. And like, in a normal attempt, I don't see the point in hard resetting outside the Mithril Cave because it's so close to the start of the game. Like, hard resetting, right outside of a cave, hard resetting allows you to basically correct for any mistakes that you've made and sort of start on a fresh slate. But if I've made a mistake at the 10-minute mark, fuck, I'll just go back. Like, it seems it's too early to, like, if I mess up my step route and I get an encounter in the Mithril Cave, like, what am I going to go back to the start of the cave? That's going to take that's way too much time to lose effectively right at the start of the game. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to walk in. And if I make a mistake, I make a mistake. So similar to what you can do on the world map. You can do this on the world map as well. It's just that it's kind of pointless because you can do it for free. So in a dungeon like this, you can also heal that danger value. The example that I usually give is, let's say every tile that you walk adds 1 to a to your like danger value, and when that danger value hits 25, 60, 75, and then 90, it's gonna give you an encounter. Oh, was that just hang on. Okay, that was just Windows Media Player. Okay, sorry about that. You know, so it hits like those values and then it gives you an encounter. What you can do is get to like 24, drop a potion, or heal a character. Restoring HP or MP will actually add 1 to that danger value, but then that resets it back to 0. Or it like bypasses the value that will give you an encounter. So, but you're in a menu. You can't get an encounter in a menu, right? So effectively it skips the encounter. This is banned in No Major Glitches, even though it's technically not a glitch. It's a rule in the Japanese leaderboards. Yeah, I beat Bison, yeah. Not by much, but we'll get to that later. Okay, these stutters look like it's just a Windows Media Player thing. I apologize. I should have run this in VLC. Let me just double check. Yeah, okay, we're good. It's just a media player thing. We'll just have to ignore them for this video. That scared me for a bit, though. I was like, for... So yeah, I have a lot of visual cues for when I'm doing these heals. So I'll talk about the next couple that I do. I'll try and describe the visual cues that I have. This room, you can't get any encounters, which is nice, because you actually would if you could get an encounter here. I believe you would at least. So my visual cue is the very last rock at the top of this little wall. Oh, man. Tell you what, hang on. Let's... because that's gonna ship me. Let's, very quickly. Let me do this on the YouTube video instead. Sorry, folks. Just a moment. It's just, the video is, like, really stuttery and a bit shitty. So let's... where were we? We were in the Mithril Cavern. We were about here. Okay. Hopefully that's a bit better. So my visual cue is the last rock tile in that little first wall. And then... what's up, Morningcraft? Yeah, we're rewatching. Grab the fire tome here from this chest. Next visual cue is one away from the corner. Make sure to not teach the fire tome. You want to equip it into Minwoo's item slot. So this is our other big glitch that we're going to abuse. Again, the tomes all have a lot of, like, funky... a lot of them just outright crash the game. But the fire tome, thunder tome, and arrow tome are the most useful. Next visual cue is the first... oh, there's, like, a nook. Let's see. So it's, like, this first, like, nook. Does that make sense? Like, the first green tile here, but I'm standing over here. And the next one is this last little corner on this screen. So I have little, like, ways like that that I try and remember. But my notes is just screenshots of one tile before every encounter. So, I just kind of am glancing over usually to make sure as I'm walking. So yeah, with the fire tome, if that is equipped very specifically onto your fourth character's right hand, it, I believe it, like, underflows the damage or something, and you just one-shot every boss like that. Every enemy in the game. Sometimes it's a little bit finicky, actually, and it doesn't, it just doesn't work sometimes. I've found that it's mostly only against the, like, the giant enemies. So, like, the, Fire, Ice, and Thunder Gigas in the Mysidia Tower, and the Rock Golem in the very last Emperor 1 set of Emperor 1 fights. I found that sometimes it just doesn't work, and it sometimes doesn't work against the Emperor, the final Emperor. which I learned not last run, but the last run before? Or maybe it was this one. I don't think so, though. But we'll see. So this is very different from No Magic Glitches. Normally, we would just warp straight out after getting the Mithril chest. But we need the teleport chest here because we need to sell that to buy D-Zone, which we're going to use in a very fun way in a moment. You'll notice I'm queuing up attacks with Furion and Guy. They have a speed that's so... The Fire Tome actually also kind of increases agility, I think. All those characters just have enough agility. Do a little magic rearrange there. Basically, you don't want to queue up attack with your Thunder Tome holder, because the Thunder Tome, when you attack with it, sometimes it can give you like a really, really long attack animation, and it's very, very annoying. This looks like it's fixing the stutters as well. Sorry about that, everyone. So yeah, this looks really funky, but it's all just skipping encounters. So we're back in the town. Again, we can roll our danger value back to 0 in towns, which we're going to do as we exit. I'll get to show you that. So we're going to buy D-Zone, aka Warp, and we are actually going to teach this to Furion. So that's why we want the Teleport Tome, because we have to sell it so that we can buy D-Zone. Now you'll notice that I'm going to do a little wiggle here to waste 2 tiles worth of movement. That resets the danger value to 0. If I didn't do that, the very first tile I walk on this screen, I would get an encounter. So, excuse me. Teaching D-Zone to Furion, and then I also need to heal Minwu. And again, because we're healing, danger value also reset to 0. Then we get to carry on walking as normal. That is technically faster than doing the reset, but we don't have characters taking damage yet, so... Back to just saving. So we're about to do a drop manip. This was the most frustrating thing in this entire game for me. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to take a save, hard reset the console. These little movements on the load screen are actually important. And then we're going to walk down and to the left, frame perfect. It's not actually frame perfect because you have a big buffer as you're walking into one tile. You can start holding left, and then when they reach that tile, they'll turn left on the first frame. So all this movement has to be like buffered to be frame perfect here, because I want a specific encounter that when I input a specific order of turns will play out a certain way and give me ideally 2 Berserk Tomes. However, all this sort of RNG that is involved in this manipulation it's determined by the console that you play on. So I play on an AV Famicom. I just unplugged it. I play on an AV Famicom. The world record is done on emulator. And the second place time is done on a USA console. But, Sayo, you ask, isn't this a Japanese game? Yes. So the only way to replicate the RNG and the manipulation of the world record, the former world record rather, is to be playing on effectively a modified US unit that can read Japanese cartridges. When I learned this, it frustrated the hell out of me, because I'm sure that they just didn't know this at the time, but in any other circumstance, modifying your console to give you better fight RNG would be insta-banned. And so, like, I just had to, I had to beat it, because it was, like, very important to me to get a world record that you can replicate on real, actual, unmodified hardware. I don't know why, either. It just frustrated the hell out of me. I don't know why I cared so much. I shouldn't have. But it really frustrated me. So the world record is actually already gone. It's got all the shit that it needs. It's got all its Berserk Tomes. You'll notice, though, after this plays out, I don't get 2 Berserk Tomes. I get a Berserk Tome and a Stun Tome. The reason we want Berserk Tomes is because they sell for 5,000. Stun Tomes only sell for 4,000, so I actually end up with 2,000 gil less, and I end up about a minute and a half behind, no matter what I do. I will always, in every single circumstance, lose about a minute and a half to the former world record, just because of this minute. So my routing had to be a lot better. And I couldn't copy any of the manipulations that were done because they do not work on actual hardware. I don't moderate the game. I'm not a mod. However, if I was, now, before it's too late, I would seriously consider changing the approved emulators. So Asnel, who is a Japanese runner, who plays also on hardware, helped me find out that, told me that FCEUX 2.2.3 does, with the correct settings, properly replicate a Famicom. An AV Famicom specifically. So I would be looking to change the rules in the game on emulator to make it so that that is the only approved emulator, and get rid of US consoles. I understand that it also makes the game slightly less accessible, but again, in any other game, in any other circumstance, modifying your console to save a minute and a half on what is effectively an RNG manip, and thus other forms of RNG, I think is insane. Allowing that is insane. But again, I'm not a mod. I've messaged the mods, I've asked them about it, but I haven't got a response yet. Don't go and fucking say anything to them. Let me handle it. But we finally got our Berserk Tomes. So, now, we're off to Mysidia, which is actually ages away. But luckily we get a Chocobo. One thing about my manip as well with the Berserk Tomes is it actually manipulates a MP increase for Furion, which is nice. And an HP increase, which we'll get to later. So soft resetting also fixes the NPC movement. The Chocobos in the forest are kind of hard to catch, but I think I biffed it here. Yeah, I did biff it a little bit. I started to crumble. But there's, yeah, I was standing in the wrong tile. But you can basically, you know where they're going to be. Which is nice. And we get to run our little Chocobo down to Mysidia. Can't get encounters on the Chocobo. I had to actually find this all myself as well, coming up. Pretty much all the steps in this game, outside of dungeons, I had to find myself. So I figured that because I can make mistakes in the Chocobo forest, I may as well do a hard reset there. And also because my Chocobo movement's never going to be perfect, right? I figured I'll put a hard reset there, which actually turns out to be really nice. You'll notice this gap in the fence. I'll mention that later. That gap, on the grass. But anyway. So I'm going to sell my tomes that I just got. Unoptimally. Get 1 wall tome. 2 raised tomes. A teleport tome. Now, if I got a drop from either of the bosses in the Mithril Cave, I would actually be buying 3 fire tomes here. I did not, so I only bought 2. And I'm going to buy 5 cure tomes. 3 of those will go to our main party. 1 of them will go to Layla, a character that we'll get much later, and then another one of them will be used in a really interesting way. I'm not going to use the gap in the fence. I leave from the path, because that wastes 1 tile of movement, which skips an encounter leaving the town. Encounter here as well, and I'm going to use the save to teach my party all the spells. Now, because Maria has the Thunder Tome, thus the highest agility possible in the game, we're going to give her Wall, and because Furion has D-Zone, or Warp, there's a kind of interesting glitch in this game where Warp, basically, if you cast it on an enemy, it will effectively just eject them from the battle. but it has a chance to miss. If they have wall on them, though, warp is guaranteed to hit. This works with Death and Toad as well. However, warp is the cheapest and earliest to acquire spell. Couple of really tricky visual cues here as well for these saves. But it went well. I only really started to get super confident with these particular encounters later. Any travel done in the canoe here will pause your danger value increase. I think this saves time. I never actually timed it. Previous world record walked through the forest and had to do like 2 saves. I figured like going in the canoe like has to be faster, right? But anyway, so we're gonna back row everyone except for Guy, and then we're gonna take a save, another hard reset. This is another manip that I had to find. There are enemies very low on this little like block of land, these little flan enemies. If they attack, they have a chance to inflict poison. Because Guy is the only front road character, thus the only character that can be hit with physical attacks, they all target him. So I'm going to re-equip Thunder Tome, and we're going to run away. And now Guy is dead, but he does have poison inflicted on him. And now, normally, what you do here is buy 2 ethers. But instead, because I'm short on money, I'm going to have to buy 5 potions instead, which we'll use later, and I can only afford a single ether. This is a reroute that I had to do because of the inability to use the manip that drops me 2 Berserk Tomes. Asnel and myself, well, I used to, and Asnel does, use a manip that drops 1 Berserk Tome at a time, but that costs like an extra minute. So we're going to show this guy Mithril as part of the story as well. Now, in the previous world record, what they would do is actually leave town, hard reset here, which I also do, I also hard reset, but they actually had a setup to do a battle that manipulates another MP increase on Furion. I could not figure out any MP increase. They also do, on the second encounter coming up, they do a second MP increase on Maria. And I was looking at the MP, and I'm like, Furion has 10, Maria has 5, Guy has 5. There's only 3 sections of the game where you need to be doing more than 20 heals at a time anyway. So you don't actually need any more MP than that. Because we've got an ether that we're going to use in a couple of splits. And then the next time that you need to do that is Pandemonium. Jade Passage and Pandemonium, which has 39 encounters. So that's so, like, there's a section in the game that I'll get to later that has a couple chests with, like, you know, an ether and an elixir. So 20 MP with Furion having 10 specifically. Drain all of that, restore Furion's MP once, and you're up to 30. Drain it again, restore it with the elixir, you're up to 40. And then you even have 1 MP spare for a raise on Leon, because he kills the final boss. So in case Leon dies. So I'm like, why the fuck are they doing MP increases? Why are you grinding for MP? What a waste of time. Why am I even bothering trying to find a manip for this? Fuck it, I'm gonna skip it. So even though I lose like a minute and a half because of the manipulation, I actually gain almost 2 minutes back from not grinding MP. Which doesn't make it okay, because I still would like to save the minute and a half on the Berserk Tomes, but I can't. I also rerouted this. I found that if you go to the inn in this town after the hard reset and do a little loop-de-loop around the stairs here, you cut 1 or 2 encounters from this section. Which was another just outright routing improvement over former world record. So we're going to raise Guy here and rearrange our magic because we're doing more cures here. So now, because Guy is poisoned, every single step we take reduces his health, which means that, because cure won't work on a full health target, right? So with every step we take now reducing Guy's health, we can heal him with cures rather than spending boatloads of money on potions. And also, you have limited inventory space, and potions don't stack. So, yeah, basically now, rather than having to dump a ton of money and time into potions, we just use cures now, from this point in the game. But it does mean that we get that beautiful noise. Let me just let that rock for a little bit. Oh wait, that's as loud as it goes. This is a much quieter video than I thought it was. Whoops. Well, a moment of silence for the poison sound. Oh yes. Yeah, so I think I caught 1 or 2 encounters here. I can't remember. But like, these are the sort of like routing improvements that I had to find myself because I didn't have access to the same manipulations as World Record. So yeah, I'm admittedly being a bit of a crybaby about it, but I just think it's rubbish. You shouldn't be able to play on modified hardware like that. So we have the pass. No one say anything. It's a pass to access something. I don't remember. That split though was really, really clean. More improvements just from the like the new save strat that I had that I didn't have before. And what else? I guess just generally cleaner gameplay. I think I do show the world record comparison a couple times, but this is comparing against my PB, which is only 1 second behind world record anyway, at the time, former world record rather. So what we're going to do is we're going to learn the, what is it? I think it's Sunflame. And we're going to buy a ticket to Salamand that we're not actually going to use yet. We bought the boat earlier, and we're going to use that to go back. Because we have to return Minwoo to take care of the king who is unwell. I think this is another one that I had to figure out, because after this, I think world record does a hard reset after this, but I'm not 100% sure. I feel like it doesn't. I keep saying world record. It's not anymore, mate. So yeah, talk to Hilda, return Minwoo. He's going to take care of the king who is unwell. But from the king, we're going to learn the keyword Goddess Bell, which is, I don't remember exactly what its significance is in the story. It like opens, oh that's right, it opens the door to Kashwan Keep, which we can't access yet, which we need to get the Edgel Torch to get the Sunflame, which is what we learned about from Sid. So I think world record did a hard reset leaving this area. This is another one where it's like, why would I make a mistake here? So I just didn't. Buy the boat again. And we're going to waste 6 steps worth of movement to get an encounter in the town. Because that is unbelievably faster than getting the encounter. Even doing like the save stuff. We already bought the ticket for the airship, so we can just get straight on. And then we're going to meet Joseph in Salamand. He's our next guest character. So we tell him about the Goddess Bell, and he's like, oh, you know about the Goddess Bell? I can help you get that. And he joins us. And so, similarly to what we did with Minwoo, we're going to trash all of Joseph's equipment. Except for that potion that he's got there. We're going to replace the potion with the fire tome. Because we want to steal his potion. To use later. And we also want him to equip fire tome. So it's just kind of optimal to do a switch rather than a... like a give. This is also a crazy stretch of manip that I found. Because it perfectly gets you to the door of the Mithril Cabin. If I walk one more tile, I get an encounter. So I hard reset. Because if you don't, you get, I think, 3 encounters. Oh, sorry, you get, from here to the start of the snow cave, you get 2 extra encounters. Than the previous world record. So... at this point, a hard reset I felt was worth it. Well, not I felt, it just is. Gonna teleport out with Furion. Also quickly rearrange his magic to put Cure in slot 1. And there's another gold. This was the point where I was like... this is pretty good. I was like, this is a pretty good run. This is a very good run. And then head to the BCR. Shout out to BB2K. Also, I feel like it's important to note, I decided to do a different picture for the recording of this one. So rather than me eating the hot dog or a picture of John... oh, hello. There we go. I've got this dog. This is like one of my favorite pictures of all time. I just love this picture. I don't know. It's just so elite. It doesn't fit in the frame properly, but I don't care. So anyway. Hello. There we go. What is happening with like every time that I like click something? It's like double clicking in OBS. So yeah. Heals 2 skip encounters here. Nothing crazy. Hard reset outside the snow cave. I think it cuts 1 encounter. But it's another one of those things where it's like... I almost didn't see the point in it. But hard resetting is about the same amount of time, if not slightly quicker, than doing a heal. So it's like, I either have an extra encounter or I have to hard reset. It costs about the same anyway. It's just that if I have an encounter, it costs a potion or a heal, which, because I'm not manipulating my MP increases, I am particularly low on. So, hard resetting is worth it. But this is another one where it's like, if I got an encounter here, if I mucked up and got an encounter here, and I have to go all the way back to the start of the snow cave, the run's, like, dead anyway. It's not, like, dead, but, like, that's so much time to spend that... like, I'd rather just not. I'd rather just start again. This is something that I actually want to work out, routing out. We have to walk away to this little nook to get an Arctic Wind. Which, if used in battle, is a very, very powerful cast of like a Blizzard spell. Which we will equip to Maria for a later battle. I think that takes an incredibly long time. But you have Wall and Warp. So I think if I really wanted to get freaky with this game, I would actually route out that chest pickup. And I would find a manipulation for that fight. Because you have to take out like a group of like 8 enemies, right? And the Arctic Wind will just kill them all. I would try and find a manipulation for the fight where Wall and Warp just kills everything. And I think it'll be quicker. It'll save like 10 seconds, I think. Maybe. It's hard to say. I'd need to time it. But yeah, I kind of don't see the point. But that's very freaky. That's going to take a lot of time to find a manip like that. Or potentially will take a lot of time to find the manip. And then I would also need to change some other things about, you know, is that going to change the encounters that I would expect XYZ? So for now, with my current goal to just get the world record, I didn't feel as though it was necessary to find any crazy manipulation like that. But yeah, this is I think why this game doesn't have a huge amount of players. This particular category doesn't have a huge amount of players because for a while it's incredibly boring. At least for like a spectator. It's not exactly, I don't think it's exactly fun to watch or listen to this for an extended period of time. Which is why you'll probably also never see me try this in a marathon or anything like that. This room is safe from encounters as well, which is really nice because our danger value resets to 0, and we get a very long stretch of walking. So I actually don't have enough MP to clear this snow cave, which is why getting that potion off of Joseph is incredibly important. Because I'm gonna need, I need exactly 1 extra potion to get through this cave. I took that walking at the end very slowly, just to make sure. So this is our next boss, Adamantoise. I don't know what moves it has because we just kill it in 1 hit. There we go. So another thing that you can kind of use, it's not... I think it's not like... It's not how you should do it, because it just isn't. But basically, like, you can use, in a lot of situations, you can actually use Guy's health to confirm if you're standing in the correct spot. So common values are 10, 11, 14, 17, 24, and 30. For how you'll know that you're on like the right encounter. And so as you pause, you can actually kind of ballpark it based on Guy's health. Even if you're like not 100% sure. So again, because I'm kind of limited on money, I'm going to actually take back the fire tome that Joseph uses. And oh no, a boulder, a scary boulder. Luckily, I knew that Joseph was about to die, so we took his fire tome, but he's dead. Joseph, no! That heal took ages. So yeah, first time in the run that I actually lost time to a PB. My snow cave split was just absolutely nasty last time. I don't really even know what it was. Gotta be super careful here as well. So an interesting quirk with the fire tome is that if it kills an enemy... If you kill an enemy with like a fire tome attack, it deletes the save file in slot 1. But then you immediately launch back into world map movement where you use save slots to skip encounters. So if you aren't careful, if you get an encounter, you don't have a save that you can like, you know, I didn't save as I left the snow cabin because that's just like time waste, right? So you've got to be really, really careful after you leave a dungeon that you kill a boss in. You've got to be really careful on the first encounter, because now if I muck up and I get an encounter, worst case scenario, right, I just like hard reset and try and ballpark it until I reach another hard reset where I'll be back in control. But if I don't have a save file in slot 1 and I get an encounter and I like can't run away from it, especially if I have no 4th character, I can't kill it. Like, I'm just dead. The whole run's just gone. And my party has nothing equipped. I had to sell it all. So back to Cash on Keep as well. And before we do, we're going to go and rest at the inn because we have 0 MP on every single one of our characters. So take a quick rest. And then waste 4 steps of movement to, again, get an encounter. And then Cash Won't Keep is another one where you pretty much have to hard reset like every time you enter this joint, which you'll see why. So we hard reset. And then this torch is like the best visual indicator because you just hold up until you touch the torch. And then that's like your first heal. So Goddess Bell to open this door. And then we meet Gordon, who is another, I think, Hilda's husband. I think? Husband or brother. Very embarrassing to get that wrong. But how did he get in if he didn't have the Goddess Spell? Anyway. We're going to, similarly with Joseph, trash all of Gordon's equipment. And he's got 2 potions, which is very nice for us. I actually forgot initially to equip the Fire Tome because usually I have a Fire Tome in that slot. But in this particular run, I did not have a Fire Tome there, unfortunately. Cash Won't Keep as well is one where I particularly struggled with the visual cues. A lot of this stuff looks kind of the same. But generally, I'll use if I'm walking along a path like that, I'll use the lines on the wall and I'll count them out as I walk. So that's the 5th line. That one, the 5th line on the upper wall. This one you line up with the bottom of the staircase and confirm with 14 HP. And what's the next one? Oh, along the upper wall on this corridor, it's the 8th line. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we heal there. This one you actually can't use the health to verify because he's always going to be on 1. But he'll have already been on 1, so you might be too early if you try and use the health. Cash Won't Keep as well is, I'm fairly confident, my No Major Glitches knowledge is quite rusty, but I'm fairly confident that this is one of the first, also this is the first, dungeon in the game with encounters that you cannot run away from. I think so at least, I'm not 100% sure. I think the Snow Cave has some that are unrunnable, I think the grenades and the ghouls are unrunnable. But there's a lot more in Cash Won't Keep that you can't run away from. So it's particularly more important in this dungeon than any of the others that we've been in before to be on top of your encounter skipping. Yeah, the were-rats you can't run from, the adamantoids you can't run from. I think this joint has bombs as well, but don't quote me on that, I'm not 100% sure. Now, Furion, that manip that I did before that cost a lot of time against the previous world record, usually Furion has 30 health, but just by pure coincidence, that manip also does a HP and an MP increase on Furion. That HP increase is actually really useful, because if this boss that we're coming up to gets a surprise attack on us, and it casts a spell, Furion is pretty much guaranteed to die at 30 health. But with 40 health, he's actually guaranteed to live. Luckily, there was no back attack this particular run. I accidentally opened the magic menu, but if the bomb there, if it gets a preempt and Yeah, kills everyone. Furion also dies. But at 40 health, he'll actually live. So hard reset again. Teleport out, hard reset. Get the Edgel Torch. So we now have the power of the sun. We're one tile away from an encounter, so we may as well just hard reset again. What's good about this as well is that this fixes the location of the chocobos. Because we're going to use the chocobo again. And that's where I split. I can't remember why, but I changed my split to that. Did I do this one clean? I can't remember. I did. Nice. I love the little head wiggle too. But yeah, if anyone has questions as well, I'm happy to answer them. I'm not actually playing now, so I can actually talk. Because like this game, again, like every encounter is so punishing and potentially run ending. So it's nice to actually be able to just have the video going. I'm not playing, hands off, I'm not playing, I'm just watching and talking. So if you do have any questions, it's actually the best time to ask them, because again, this is only a 209 still. I wanted a much... I wanted to get a world record by much more, because I know that I can, and you'll see in the run what went wrong. So I'm going to continue playing this, but I think it's going to be a lot easier now that the pressure's off. But yeah, basically, if you have any like questions or whatever about the run for the people viewing live, I'd love to answer them for once. Dreadnought has no boss at the end of it, but pretty much everything in this joint is unrunnable, and this screen also has one of the worst rooms in the game. Now you'll notice, oh my goodness, Furion has no MP. How are we gonna continue that ether that we bought in town? So HP and MP restoration skips encounters, by the way, unless it's an elixir. I think the reason for this is that potions, cures, and ethers and stuff, they will like restore health, whereas elixirs and cottages will set health and MP to maximum. It's not restoration, it's setting. I think that's the distinguishing factor, and something that you actually do need to keep in mind with this route, because when you restore with the elixir in Pandemonium, if you just do the elixir and then walk a tile, you get an encounter. So you have to remember to elixir plus heal, but not ether plus heal, because then you'll be one tile behind. Sort of just a weird thing that you really have to keep in mind. That's on the very last dungeon of the game as well. Let's freaking go, Saiyans. I think, at least I'm pretty sure by this point, No Major Glitches has done all of its stat grinding, evasion, sword, and HP for Furion, except by this point you're like 2 hours in. If we go by the timer, if we compare to No Major Glitches purely by the timer, I believe we're just getting the Mithril. To put in perspective, the No Major Glitches run, because you have to do all of the XP grinding, I believe by this point you're just hitting the Mithril chest. Meanwhile, we're like 5 dungeons ahead in No Major Skips. So 10th wall tile. So 10th tile along that upper wall. That's how you know the heal here. And again, we're very low on MP. Because this is one of the few sections where I was talking about before, where you actually need more than like 30 MP or whatever, or 20 MP. But Layla also has 20 MP when she joins the party, so she's super useful in that regard. But yeah, we're officially out of MP. So that's why I bought like 5 potions in the town, because we're going to need to use them. This is the worst screen in the entire game. These guys move so quickly and sporadically, and there's these paths with just one tile, so they get in the way. And if you aren't ready for it, you can overwalk really, really easily if you're having to like press up against them, because the only way to get them to move quicker is to press a direction against them. And you can sandwich that last guy in the last little staircase. And then if you do that, which I have done on a run before, you have to move one tile to get out of the way for him, let him leave, and then walk another tile to get back to where you were, which wastes 2 tiles of movement, which not only gives you an extra encounter in this dungeon, but it also means that every encounter is 2 tiles earlier, which is going to slow you down because there'll be visual cues that you aren't used to. Yeah, that is 100% the worst screen in the entire game, as far as movement. This last screen is just a little maze. It's kind of, the visual cues are actually super easy for this section, I think. But yeah, that previous screen is such a headache. Easily the worst screen in the game. If I didn't get such a bad, like, hand of cards or whatever, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, with that guard movement, I believe that this split actually would have golded. Everything else was super clean. But I think I lost, like, I think I only lost, like, 2 seconds, but he was standing in front of me for, like, 8 years, so. And so we need to use the power of the sun on the engine. And we also discover that that guy is Leon. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if it would have golded, but at the very least, it wouldn't have lost time to the PB. I'm really stoked that I got a 53 Dreadnought, though. I hadn't gotten a 53 Dreadnought yet. My best on pace was actually a 54 flat. I did a little quick comparison there so you can see. I was like 30 seconds behind sum of best, and still basically I'm about even with both my PB. My PB and former world record were about even at this point. So yeah, very first tile that we move here is going to give us an encounter, which is again why mucking up steps in Dreadnought is so bad. But we need to rest at the inn. And yeah, this is another reason why I think this category probably won't see a huge amount of play, because nothing's really happened yet, man. This is only just where, like, the RNG is starting. Yeah, this is the start of the run now, basically. This is where things you start to actually need to, like, adapt to things. And you've just been playing for almost an hour. So, it's a bit frustrating, and it makes resets feel really bad. So, the king is dead, unfortunately. And Gordon, I believe, is now the king. This is a really, really, really easy moment to muck up on as well. You actually need 2 keywords from Gordon. Usually, with most keyword learning, you only need one thing, but you need both. You need both Dragoon and Hiryu. Brother, just give me Hiryu. Yeah, so it's very, very easy to forget and just learn Hiryu and then walk away, especially if you're playing in Japanese. Yeah. So another hard reset here. And we're going to head to the next town and get Layla, who, again, has 20 MP. So she's incredibly useful, which is why we bought a 4th and 5th cure tome. The 4th is for Layla. We'll get to the 5th later. So there she is. Hello. And then we talk to her. She offers to take us to the next, like, destination or whatever. Take a quick save. Now, I was finding with this section that I would get back attack heaps. But I found that if you do a row change, Because you want Maria in the back row anyway, so that she doesn't die if you do get a back attack. But it also wastes enough time that a back attack is much less likely. I got a back attack anyway, but they all tried to either flee or attack Guy, which was really strange. So again, because Maria has maximum agility, we cast that Arctic Wind that we picked up in the snow cavern, and this will one-shot every single one of the pirates. It's very slow, but it works. So, with Guy being our poisoned character and being currently dead, I am going to need to use one of those raised homes. I made a... This was a really tough situation to be put in because I have 2 raised homes. One of them I need to keep for chimeras, because I need to teach it to either Furion or Layla, depending on who lives. I made the executive decision to risk it, because it is far more likely for Layla to live chimeras than it is for Furion. I made a decision that... What am I doing? What happened there? That was such a weird menu. I made a... Yeah, like, I had to make a judgment call there and teach it to Furion. Very luckily, this paid off. The issue is that if you... Because you possibly need one for Gordon against the Behemoth. Against the Behemoth, and to heal anyone that died from Lamia Queen. So now, pretty much, someone is pretty much guaranteed to die to chimeras, right? So I figured it would be... The safest thing for me to do was to teach it to Furion. And then, if I don't need one for chimeras, happy days. I don't need one for chimeras. And if I do, I teach it to Layla, have Layla res. And then if I die to Behemoth, I was just like, I'm just gonna, like... If someone dies to Behemoth, fuck it. Like, the run's dead. Which was... very annoying. But it was a risk that I just had to live with. It was I'm very happy that I was able to be really decisive. And make a decision very quickly. I wouldn't have cared if I made the wrong decision. But making a decision so quickly, at least to me, showed that I was willing to trust my gut. Which is, I think, like, the most important thing to do in a situation like that. So I'm really happy that I was able to think all of that through and make a decision that quickly. The slowdown was... There was some time loss from it, obviously. But it wasn't, like, an insane amount. I didn't have to sit there and think for too long. So I was willing to trust my gut, and I did. It's just sheer coincidence that it ended up being the right thing, but we'll get to that later. Aerotome in this chest... I actually don't care about Aerotome strats. I don't necessarily think that Aerotome is worth getting. However, if I skip that chest, I have to change the rest of the step route for this area. Super slow movement there. And I was like, fuck it, like, I'll do the Aerotome strats because I think it might be safer. Aerotome increases agility as well, but not as much as Thundertome. So basically that, in most situations, makes the first 2 turns in any fight Maria, then Furion, i.e. Wall, then Warp. So yeah, we give the Aerotome to Furion. It doesn't always work. Sometimes Furion still gets the first turn, and that's the worst. Because Wall is at level 1, Warp rather, is really, really unlikely to hit. So only 3 more heals left in this dungeon. What's up, BB2K? So yeah, this split ends up being one of the first ones. I should be walking into the final boss room now. I typically expect to save about 20 seconds on this split. So this was the first, big time loss of the run that was quite frustrating. Leave Layla on 7 MP. That's how you know that you've done everything perfectly and you're geared up for the Chimera's dungeon. I got a bit freaked out because the menu earlier was so bad. And I was like, I'm going to lose time anyway. I may as well double check that Layla has Fire Tome equipped. So Arrow Tome, very, very important. Once you put Arrow Tome on Furion, he is not allowed to input the attack command ever again. Inputting the attack command with Arrow Tome will just crash the game. Full on crash the game. And I think it deletes your slot 4 save file. So yeah, lost 14 seconds and accidentally double split as well. Lost 14 seconds. Again, considering that I typically expect to save 20 seconds on that split, that effectively means that I lost about 30 to 35. Which is very annoying. This is another one that I found. I think former world record did a hard reset somewhere around here. Which I don't, and it's super risky, because again, if you muck up, you don't have a slot 1 save file right now. But what I did find with it is that if you don't hard reset, this is your last encounter, and you have exactly enough tiles to reach the pendant in this first visit of the dungeon. You have to go in this dungeon twice. You have exactly enough movement to get this pendant and teleport out without getting an encounter, which saves about 20 seconds. And then hard reset here lets me normalize my movement if I have made a mistake. But I haven't, so it's good. Now, with such a lower amount of MP, I do have to do a very small detour in here. We talked to the kid twice. He's like, there's a Hiryu in here that's dying. You have to come and help him. I have to pick up the cottage up here. So small detour, but nothing crazy. Underwalked there. And then the Hiryu is in here, and it's dying, and it's like, here is my egg. If you submerge the egg in the in the water in the cave, then like my race of Hiryu will be able to live on. And then if you actually go back later in the game, effectively in Act 3, if you go back to that cavern, the Hiryu is actually unfortunately dead. It's really sad. So yeah, this is why I wanted to just do the run offline, because Chimeras can outright end the run. Everyone in here has seen this many, many times, that Chimeras can just end the run. And I didn't want to just stream for an hour and then turn the game off and the stream off and then leave, right? So I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do 1 attempt. Damn, look at that 10 watch streak from Brian Bruce. I did get a bit upset on Sunday because I mucked up my steps in here, and then I just couldn't get another run on pace like that. I had very similar pace to this. It was slightly quicker at this point, but I mucked up my steps here because I just got my visual cues all wrong. And then I felt really silly because I didn't even get a run to the point where it could die to stuff that's out of my control. It was very annoying. But yeah. Layla, you need to leave on 1 MP as well. Because again, after Chimeras, she might need to raise the party if people are dead. Now, at some point here, I should have checked, because you actually preferably want Maria and Furion in the back row so that they can't be hit by the Chimera's physical attacks. I don't particularly know why, but for some reason in this run, I was like, I don't care. If they're front road and they get attacked by the Chimeras, I'm going to let them die, give up on the wall and warp strategy, and just let Layla send attacks with the fire type. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, hey, I'm not streaming. I don't care. So yeah, we'll see how Chimeras goes. So yeah, third door for the Chimeras. Yeah, it's usually around here that I check if they're in the back row, but I was like, no, I don't care. And 3 Chimeras, you can get 2, 3, or 4. Oh, back attack. Literally, this is the point. I was like, cool. I'm gonna go get lunch. And then I'm like, I just got the controller. It's held A. Fuck it. Fire Tome heals you for some reason. Thank God it does. But if Layla takes a physical attack, she dies. These Chimera physical attacks deal like 300. But they all only did the fire spell. I was like... this is the point. I was like... No fucking way. I was like, fuck, alright. Sure. But the problem is... So this is where... I think... I made the right call in teaching Raise to Furion, because now, if somebody does die to Lamia Queen, I have Furion to raise. The only person that I would want to raise from the Behemoth fight is Gordon, and if Gordon dies to the Behemoth, I don't care anyway, because the run is pretty much dead, unless I can clutch with Wall and Warp. So... I've used all of my raised tomes. I'm going to need to go and buy another fire tome anyway, so I figured I'll also just go and buy more raised tomes. But yeah, that Chimera's fight was like... That was like plot armor shit. Insane stuff. This is a super long movement manip as well. You have to cut this corner perfectly. Most of the movement before doesn't matter. You have to cut this corner perfectly as well. There's no hard resetting here. Because I didn't want to. It was too slow. And then we've got an encounter here. I was so stunned from the Chimeras, I actually forgot to do the proper, resetting, which was kind of insane. But yeah, rest in the inn to... So you get Layla in another dungeon later on for the White Mask, but she retains however much MP she had earlier. So the inn is purely to restore Layla's MP. Everyone back in the front row, this is a massive mistake. I should have left Furion in the back row. Because if Lamia Queen got a back attack and hit Furion, I now have nobody that can cast Raise. Because Layla leaves the party after this fight and Furion's dead. And those are the two that have my raised tomes. So putting Furion front row was actually a massive risk here. Like a massively unnecessary risk here. I should have back rowed him. Or left him back rowed, rather. Another thing that I want to do here, this isn't necessary, but I'm going to cast Wall with Maria, because spending MP in battle is how you get, MP XP to level up. And I just try once, and luckily I get the MP. If I feel like it, I'll try another one on Behemoth, but if I don't get it on Lamia Queen or Behemoth, I just let it rock. with the 5 MP. So the 10 MP isn't necessary, but it means that now I only need either the Ether or the Elixir in Jade Passage and Pandemonium. I don't need both. Which is possibly a routing... No, it's not. Never mind. Because I need to get the cottage anyway. We'll see it in this split. Or in the next split, rather. I waste some more movement to get an encounter again. What's up, Poor Scythe? Thank you for the GG. I'm not done. I lost... Actually, I won't spoil it. For the people that don't know. This movement, again, is pretty risky because you've just killed the Lamia Queen. You do not have a slot 1 save file. But luckily, the visual cue is pretty easy. These were giving me a lot of trouble, though. I actually missed world record on my previous PB pretty much entirely because of the movement here. The problem is it all just looks the same, man. It's just you're against this little mountain in the sand and, like, it all just looks the same. But I practiced it. I did it pretty slow there because I wanted to be safe. I actually hard reset 1 tile away from the Colosseum because the old way that I initially learned, like, my old movement was worse. I parked in a different spot and basically, like, I would get an encounter 1 tile before the Colosseum, so I figured I'll just hard reset the Colosseum. But then all the movement inside the Colosseum was based on that. I didn't want to relearn it, so I was like, nah, fuck it, I'll just always do my hard resets 1 tile away from the Colosseum. So Behemoth, this is another chance where the run can just die for the particular situation that I'm in. Gordon still has Fire Tome equipped, so just send an attack and Digi. But had that been a preemptive that hit Furion, that would be another one where I just lose the run. Or at the very least, I would have lost like a minute. And we can see here, bang, massive stonks. Massive time gain. And again, because I don't have an encounter manip to raise my MP in the pass split, like previous runs, or I don't spend any time, like, organically grinding it, I still need an Elixir, an Ether, and a Cottage. Luckily, this little room has all 3. So, that's some knowledge that I stole from my time playing No Magic Glitches in this game. Which I'm really happy paid off. You also can't get encounters in this area, this particular, like, screen. So, yeah, really, really happy that I was able to figure out that room would be so useful for me. Really slow movement there, but it's alright. That does lose about 20 seconds to previous record, going in that room and getting the chests. But, again, I saved, like, almost 2 minutes in better routing. Because, again, I can't do the manip because it only works on, like, modified hardware, right? So, that's sort of the plus and minus, or whatever, of not grinding your MP, is that I have to take a very small detour into that room. 10th line along this upper wall is my cue to heal again, confirm it with Guy being on 30 health. I'm pretty sure, though, that Bison's run and mine, even though I take the detour, I think Bison has, like, an extra encounter or something along those lines. Or misses an encounter skip or something, because I found that I was never really losing time on the White Mask split. I think, at least. I'd need to check. You know what? I actually will. Because I have other splits. This is another section. The visual cues here are at least easier, but they're still pretty tricky. White Mask. I can't see it. Damn, I can't see it in the screenshot that I have. But yeah, I feel like most of the time when I did the White Mask split, I wasn't losing time. To Bison's run. I don't exactly understand the mechanics of this, by the way, but sometimes you get encounters on the boat seem really rare. I feel like after you get like 2 encounters on the boat, you just never get another encounter until your destination. This is another weird one. I take a hard reset really far away from Finn Castle because my old step route before I was parking on the north side of the Coliseum had a reset that was there anyway, and I was like, fuck it, I'll just make that a hard reset. And so I just didn't want to relearn all my visual cues for the upcoming dungeon. Another one that's very easy to forget as well is after you re-get Layla in the party here, she does, she moves to the back row. So you have to remember to front row her for this boss. Back attack, really annoying here. Really, really annoying back attack. What's up, Woe? Well, I have world record now, so I guess I'm a beast at this game. So yeah, super annoying back attack. But luckily, I can fix it pretty easily in the menu. Make sure to get all 3 keywords here. Except you actually can't, you kind of can't forget them anyway, because you need to use the very last one to open this passage. You beat the world record, you forgot to record it? Damn, what a shame. Yeah, it's a pretty easy fix to get back on track with that Furion death. Literally, if it was anyone else, I wouldn't have cared. The fact that it was Furion, because he has the most MP out of the party, aside from Layla. I almost forgot to heal, by the way. I did the res, I almost forgot to heal, which would have been devastating, because the encounters are only escapable on floors 2 and 4. So I wouldn't have been able to run from whatever encounter I got there. Super, like, that happened and I was like, I have to calm down. I'm getting rattled, because, like, this is the best pace I've been on ever. That's okay, Woe, we forgive you. I hope you've been well. But yeah, I think the way that I do this dungeon saves 1 encounter over previous record. I think. I'm not 100% sure. I'd need to double check it. I'm fairly confident that it does, though. Hello, John. So, no major glitches players will know this as the screen where you can just lose the entire run, because you have to get the blood sword from here in that upper area. Luckily, I don't care about any weapon levels because I just kill everything with the fire tome, and thus I don't need to risk the entire run getting blood sword. Oh, look out. Everything in this last room in the game as well is also unfleeable, so encounter skips are particularly important in this area too. But this is where you finish off your evasion grind in No Major Glitches. What do you think, buddy? Are you happy that I've got world record? Oh my god, you've got a big eye booger. Let me grab that. Hang on. Oh my god, he's going to be able to see in 4K now. There he is. So we get the white mask. And yeah, surprisingly, even though it was a bit of a lackluster split with the death and whatnot, I actually still saved some time. So, super happy about that. And then we are off to Mysidia. Now, my route is a little bit weird. Previous world record would actually do a hard reset outside of the cave. However, I hard reset outside of the town and then walk all the way to the cave on one save file. This is because my route, Mysidia, is sort of never the same. Sometimes I need to go to the inn, sometimes I need to go to the magic shop, and sometimes I need to go to both, and sometimes I need to go to neither. In this case, I had to go to the magic shop to pick up the fire tome and extra res tomes. And so I take my hard reset outside the town, which is why I don't really care about having like optimal movement in the town. No, I did the run offline because I only wanted to do one attempt, and I don't usually like streaming for like only 1 hour. But I've already submitted it and everything. So yeah, I do my hard reset immediately outside of the town because my Mysidia is potentially always different. I can't guarantee myself the same Mysidia, and then thus all my world map encounters will be different. And I forget what exactly you use the white mask there for, but whoa, don't say shit like that. I'm no cheater. Yeah, so do our encounter skips. Yeah, that's why I kind of take these ones slower, because I need to make sure that I do them correctly, because if I make a mistake here, that's also going to affect all of my encounter skips in the dungeon. I think, at least I'm fairly confident that if I hard reset, I actually cut one encounter, but I didn't want to spend the time hard resetting. I do though, what I do need to do is actually take my hard reset 2 steps away from the town. I need to see if all 4 of my possible Mysidias can walk 2 steps outside of town, because then I can skip one. I get an encounter 1 tile away from the chest at the very end of the dungeon. So if I can take 2 steps outside of the town and hard reset there, I actually skip a heal. But I went to the inn because I knew that I had that amount of time to save, at least against my PB. So I didn't actually need to go to the inn because I have the 10 MP on Maria. But yeah, that's where my route gets a bit shit, is that I need to be prepared for like a few different circumstances. But yeah. Do you still want to hang out, buddy, or do you want to run away? You gonna chill here? Why is this game in Japanese? It was only released in Japan. This game never made it outside of Japan. Is it gonna focus? Not quite. Yeah. Luckily, you don't actually need to know much of the language to actually do well. To like be able to run this game. This game is like relatively straightforward despite the language. It's just because it's so old. Games generally back at this time were straightforward already, so. But yeah, a lot of it is just memorizing the characters. Memorizing, like, roughly where that particular item or something will be. And just muscle memory. I know that save is the last option on the thing there. So there haven't been a lot of these yet, but we do now start incorporating shortcuts. These are completely intentional and not a glitch or anything like that. But there is secret passages in some of these dungeons where you can just walk straight through the walls. Which I actually, when I very first started, when I did my first couple runs, I straight up forgot that, like, that was a thing. I just straight up forgot about these shortcuts. So I was wasting so much time, like, walking the long way around. And trying to route out encounter skips going, like, the long way around. It was idiotic. And then I remembered, I was like, how... Like, I'm looking at the, like, just where the record gets the encounters, and I wasn't looking between. I'm like, how the fuck? This is the worst encounter skip in the entire game. There's just nothing that's good to use as an indicator of whether or not you're in the right spot. You have to be 2 tiles away from the wall, and counting it out is just, like, it's very weird. It's very, very easy. If I could eat any Final Fantasy character, Red 13 not included... Kate Sith. I think that's correct. Blackheart, I'm pretty sure that's correct. You can see my gold kicks in, because that's a split where I didn't have to go to the magic shop or the inn. They removed false walls from some dungeons and other releases remakes. I actually didn't know that. I made a massive fuck up here. I remember audibly gasping. So I just accidentally did a full party heal. Now that has increased my danger value by not 1, as expected, but 4. So now I have no idea where my encounters are going to be. So, like, I'm toast. I don't know where anything's going to be now. So I think I just start hard resetting, if I remember correctly. No, not quite. Yeah, I just start, like, winging it. I just start, like, randomly saving and, like, hoping. I lost a lot of time here. I lost, like, 30, 40 seconds here. Because I have no idea where anything's going to be anymore. Normally, this would be the end of a run in general. But I have a hard reset very, very close by. Yeah, I've got a hard reset very close. So I was just like, fuck it. But that's such a... That was a big hit where I'm like, I'm really unhappy about this. Make sure to take Layla's fire tome off. Save. And hard reset. In save 2, in slot 2 as well, just in case. I'm already rattled. And I just had to, like... At this point, I had to just start, like, taking a lot of, like, deep breaths. I've done a hard reset. I'm back in control now. I know everything now. Terribly sorry. Flashing light warning. I missed it. Yeah, I took that one a bit slow. Just had to make sure, but it was just like... Okay, I skipped the encounter. I'm back in control. I can breathe, I can relax, I can stay composed. You can't get any encounters in the fire as well. I don't know if the fire acts like the canoe, where it pauses your danger value, or if it just won't trigger an encounter if you're in the fire. I am fairly confident that it will still reset your danger value, but I'm not good with looking at, like, RAM values and things like that in, like, emulators and stuff, so either way, it's kind of the same result. It will delay your encounters when you're in the fire. So you also have to have exactly correct movement through any tiles like that where you take damage. Because if I take extra movement, it can change the position of my encounter. Actually, no. It does pause it. I know that it pauses it. I learned that during this run. We'll see later. So yeah, trash all of Ricard's equipment. Ricard is the best guest party member in this whole game. Fire tome on him. One last cure on Guy. You always want to cure Guy here, because if the roundworm here gets a preemptive, then Guy will die on 1 health to his own poison. And it does, and I was like, if that attacked Ricard, the run was dead. I actually would have just, like, nuke the run. Because, yeah, Roundworm is super strong and Ricard doesn't have the health to live it. So, yeah, so I already lost about 30 to 40 seconds on this split, I think. So, I basically just lost... Effectively, I lost a minute. So, super frustrating. Accidentally went to the fucking equipment menu instead. Where's Maria? Front row, everybody. Because now I have Ricard. We cottage up. Save, and in slot 2 as well. I don't know why. If I died anywhere in the Mysidia Tower, I may as well have just threw the whole run out. Best dungeon music outside of Pandemonium, I think, as well. But yeah, that accidental cure all was a massive hit to my composure. I was very nervous after that. But then I was like, as I'm sort of getting back into the flow of like this dungeon, I was like, pretty much every encounter skip that I got successfully, I was like, I'm back in control, I'm okay. Everything's fine. Cat hair in my mouth. There's a... the next screen as well has a bunch of flashing as well. Sorry, folks. But yeah, I know now, actually, that it pauses because I actually thought that I lost the whole run. On this next screen. What was it that I did again? I moved like one too many down or something. Yeah, and I was like, here I'm like, but I don't have a way to like check. So I'm just like, I have to just walk to the spot and hope that it's still in the same spot. So I'm like, oh. Okay, we're cool. We're cool. It's definitely correct. So yes, being in damaging tiles actually pauses. It doesn't reset. Guy dying, whatever. As long as it's not Ricard. If Ricard takes the hit, we're a lot more scared. And we get a small break from the poison noise as well. I figured now I will teach Raze to Ricard and have him start doing the revives. Because I believe that I need some amount of Furion's MP to get through Mysidia Tower. But I don't remember exactly how much of it. So I was like, I'm just going to have Guy. Rather, I'm going to have Ricard do all the raising. Another false wall here. I tried to reroute this screen, actually, because I thought that a Cure All might actually be useful to skip some stuff, but I didn't really have much of a play around with it, but I couldn't really figure it out. I did very unfortunately get another preempt, however, the Ice Golem seems to always open with the, like, the high-level Blizzard spell. Oh, it's a decently leveled Blizzard spell. So, I don't know. It happened, but I just kind of didn't care. It's slow, but yeah, I don't know. I didn't really care. And everyone back in the front row. Thank you for the good luck. It's just a replay. Yeah, just a replay this time. I wanted to heal Guy specifically, because I wanted to still be able to use my health indicators. Even though I could actually cut one input by healing Furion instead. I wanted to still heal Guy just to make sure that I still had, like, health indicators. Luckily, the rest of the... After that purple room, the visual indicators are significantly more easy to spot. And then last golem of the dungeon. So yeah, during that section, as I was talking about before, like, sometimes the fire tome just, like, doesn't work. I don't know enough to know, like, the exact ins and outs of why, but, like, like, I guess it's just a byproduct of relying on a glitch to kill enemies, is that sometimes it just doesn't work. But I found that it only doesn't work sometimes against the golems and against, or the Gigas, the golems, and I think Emperor 2, it sometimes fails for the one-shot kill. So yeah, super weird. But this is another one where it's like, alright, I can chill now until Emperor 1. So here's all the time loss from all the revives and back attacks and whatnot. Now this game has a habit of putting the progression doors as far away from you as possible. So it's actually kind of hard to remember until you make a mistake. It's hard to remember that it's the second door that you walk through. Not second from the right, as you'd kind of expect. The second one from the left. So Minwoo's dead. Minwoo! He helped us open the final door though. This was muscle memory from No Major Glitches. You're meant to only pick up the bottom right and the center orbs. Bottom right is an agility increase. Bottom left, I believe, is a strength increase. But I was kind of rattled seeing the time save going down, and I think I still had some residual nervousness from the mistake that I made at the end of the crystal rod split. So I picked up the bottom left orb as well, which isn't like the worst thing in the world. It doesn't negatively impact me in any way outside of costing a second of time. But it's unnecessary. I think I just flash... Hang on, I think I just flashed world record splits. Or former world record splits. Did I? There we go. Crystal Rod, I lost... There it is. I lost about 20 seconds. But that also had the really long extra menu, so... yeah, Leviathan exit lost a ton of time. And then the tower. So I'm actually now... At this time, I am now even with what world record was. Which I was a little bit nervous of. Because my... the Bison's run has a couple of really unfortunate spills in the late game, where some encounter skips go wrong. So, after Emperor 1, I have 2 minutes of time save against world record. Or 2.5 rather. So my thinking always was, if I can come out plus 150 something or lower, I'm all good. But obviously you want as much of a lead as possible. But being plus 0, I was kind of like... I'd rather be minus something, obviously, but... You know. So yeah, Emperor 1. This has been... I mean, this just is the bane of any runner's existence. I might write out this inn visit as well. Maybe. I'll see if I can. But... the reason that Emperor 1 is really hard is because it's a 3-fight gauntlet. You have, your first battle that you have is 1? Can you get 1? Maybe you can't. No, I think chimeras, you can get 1 chimera. That's where I always get it wrong. So it can be anywhere from 2 to 4 Dark Knights in the first 2 battles. And then the third battle is a Golem, 2 Dark Knights, and the Emperor, who has a bunch of really, really, really strong magic. So that means I can hit your back row party as well. Now, that is if you have a back row party. I forgot, again, to check what row my party was in. Because you want everyone front row so that if one of the Gigas in Mysidia Tower gets a preempt, it has a less likely chance of hitting Ricard. But I just biffed it and forgot to check the row of my party. So I'm coming into the Emperor 1 fight with everybody front rowed, which is like kind of risky, but also like kind of in a way, kind of not. Because again, remember, hitting with the Fire Tome actually restores that character's health back to full. Or it at least restores some amount of their health. For the purposes of the speedrun, it restores their health back to full. Ricard can survive, as long as they aren't critical hits, survive anywhere from 2 to 4 Dark Knight hits, depending on damage rolls. So if he's front rowed, he can typically, unless it's a preemptive on the enemy, unless the enemy gets like a back attack on you, he can usually survive just off of his own self-healing. But yeah. We'll see how we go. Anyone who's seen the splits will have seen what happened here. And so, here we go. And it only dawned on me now that I realized that everyone was in the front row, and I was like, for fuck's sake. And then I'm like, back attack, I'm like, yeah. Furion's dead, runs over. There we go. That's another one lost to Emperor 1. And Maria's dead. Like, there we go. That's just it. I was like, fuck it. There's another one, like, take Ricard, just fucking hold A. I don't care. I was like, what the fuck ever, man. What a stupid mistake to make. XYZ. I'm so upset. Yada, yada, yada. Another run lost to Emperor 1. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm just holding A, and I'm like, oh, look at that. He lived the first fight, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I want to walk into the next, and it's just going to be another back attack. I'm like, I don't fucking care, dude. And I'm just like, yeah, holding A. And I'm like, one of these things is going to crit. 207 is actually a low damage roll. 160, okay, he lived. Okay. If it crits, it still kills him. No crit? This is like what was going through my head. I'm like... And then I was like... Okay. And I'm like, this is really fast too, because no one's casting any spells. And then it's like, alright, well, we're coming into the last one, like... Preempt is a kill here. Like, I just lose. I just lose if I get preempted. And I'm like, okay. Kill the golem first. And then it's like... The Emperor did nothing. Dark Knight's hit. One hit for 72. And I'm like, absolutely take out the Emperor first to get rid of the magic. And I'm like, 341. I'm like, nah, he's dead. He's dead. 87! Why did it hit so low? And I'm like, and then I swing and I'm like, don't crit. Don't you dare crit. He missed! He didn't deal any damage! It's like, oh, fuck. I was like, Jesus Christ, that's the fastest fucking Emperor 1 ever! Wait for this split key. Oh my, bang! Minus 319. Holy fucking shit. Why does he heal? It's a byproduct of the Fire Tome glitch. I believe they heal for some amount of the damage that they deal. For the purposes of the speedrun, because your health is already so low, it's a full heal. But I think it heals for some amount of the damage that's dealt. Yeah. Like, what the fuck? Like, at this point, I'm like, hands on head. I'm like, breathing heavy. I can feel my heart, like, pounding. I'm like, dude, no way. I'm a minute and a half ahead of world record, and I have 2.5 minutes to save. And I'm just like, Fuck me. Like, this is insane. Ricard already has Raise, so we can just res the rest of the party. Notice the rest of the party is poisoned as well. And Furion has exactly 40 health. So at this point I realized, oh, I can just heal Furion and save 1 input every time I heal because Furion's poisoned and I can use the same health indicators. I was like, that's actually really, really useful. So take 1 final rest at the inn. But like, yeah, at this point I'm like really, really nervous. I was super nervous. And I also realized at this point, I was like, kind of wish that I'd done a couple more resetless runs because I was just feeling a little off with my visual cues for healing in specifically Palmecia Tower. Emperor probably took no turn on that because he rolled an attack and can't attack from 3rd row back. Oh, okay. That's really interesting. That I actually didn't know. I just figured it was like a... I know sometimes he can use, like, items and stuff. I don't know, yeah, but I was just, like... I was just counting my blessings, man. I was like, at this point, I think this run has fucking some kind of plot armor or some kind of, like... This is crazy. Unless they use bows. Yeah, that's right, yeah. This, I actually wasn't sure if that move, ruined my setup, so I saved 1 tile early. And then I know, okay, I'm back on steps. It's chill. So that little movement on off the canoe and then back on the canoe actually doesn't ruin your steps at all, which is another thing that I only learned this run. Very careful here because the queues for the boat movement is really tight, but luckily we get no more encounters on the boat until we park. This is actually an improvement that I found over the previous... I think they get an extra encounter, but I found that if you park the boat here, you actually have less tiles to move than the spot that they were parking the boat. But with the airship, no encounters on the airship at all. But yeah, this is, for anyone that's seen the splits, there is a section here where tragedy does strike. So, saving. And you have to land the ship in here. So, it was like here, I'm like, oh, I was like, I feel a bit off with this one. I was like, but I have so much of a lead, I'm gonna take this nice and slow. So visual indicators are as follows. Along this upper wall, I want to heal on the 6th line. Start with Guy's MP, because I want to save casts of Furion's Cure, because I don't want it to level up. Next encounter is a 1-tile gap on the grass between the lower wall there and where I'm standing, so I have a little gap there. It's kind of hard to spot, actually. I might try and change how I do it, but that's what I currently use. Next one is lining up with the upper stairs. What's the next one? It is 1 tile peeking out over around the corner. Is there another one on this floor? I don't think there's another one on this floor. I think that's it. Oh, okay. Turning the corner. This is why I have all the screenshots in my notes. I don't have them all memorized yet. And especially for this area. Because I've done a bunch of runs through Jade Passage just to make sure, like Jade Passage to the end. This one is lining up at the top of the pillars. The most outward pillars that you first come across. Next heal is like the last section of the darkened wall, and they'll be on 30 health. Is your like secondary confirmation. Say something positive about this run. It's a world record. What's the next one? Second tile of the darkened wall here. The next one is one tile to the right of the exit. When you go over here at the little fork in the road. And now I'm pretty deep in this dungeon, so mistakes will be very bad. Next one is the second, like, with a gap. Like, you have a little one-tile gap between the exit where the like, wall gets wider. That's how I think of it. And then this is one of the hardest ones in the game for me. 14th line of this lower wall. Now, I actually landed perfectly on it. I counted it nice and slow. I landed perfectly on it. But I looked over at my notes to check. And then I was like, oh, I'm 2 away from where I need. But it turns out I was looking at the wrong screenshot. I screamed out loud when I got this encounter. And I was like, it's okay, because Ricard can heal. And he can actually kill, and we can carry on like normal. I didn't realize that I recovered that quickly. I didn't realize that I just shut off the console and restarted that quickly. Yeah. That was... I think I'm only 1 screen or 2 screens away from the end of the entire dungeon. And this is supposed to be a split that is pure execution. There is no boss at the end of this. There is no boss fight at the end of this. So, this is a split that is pure execution, and I've made such an incredible mistake. Doubting myself with where I second-guessed myself with being correct on the placement of where I had Furion in the perfect spot. But not only did I second-guess myself, but I went to go and check the notes, and I checked them incorrectly. Which was really, really disappointing. I was really heartbroken by that. Because it's a tough one to recover from, because now I'm like, I feel as though I can't trust any like any encounter skip. I feel it really like shakes your confidence making a mistake like that in a run like this. Yeah, really, really hard to describe the feeling. But yeah, I was just really, really disappointed in myself. Really lacking confidence. And, but at the same time, like, I think I have barely enough, like, to recover from this. Like, in my head, I was pretty confident that I could claw this back. But at the moment that kicked in, I was like, fuck, like, it's over. I was like, it's done. I'm cooked. I'm just cooked. But I was like, I'm gonna play it anyway. Like, I'm gonna play out the dungeon, and then I'll at least see where I'm at time-wise. Super disappointing. Because the thing as well is, if Ricard got the turn in first, it actually wouldn't have been that bad. But the fact that the other guy hit him and killed him, that's, yeah, that did unbelievable damage to the run, to my mental, to everything. Yeah, take it nice and slow this time. But I'm like, I can still probably come out of this like a minute ahead, I think. I was like, I'm only like 2 screens away, right? There's only like 4 more heals left to do. Four or 5? I think there's only like 5 heals left. So I'm like, I should be fine. I was like, okay, maybe I'll be like 30 seconds ahead instead of 3 minutes ahead. And I was like, that's still a massive, like, that's still a real disappointing one. was just like, yeah, just gotta truck along. This one, I took this one super slowly. I know for a fact I grandma'd the hell out of this. Because if I got an encounter there, if I made a mistake there and got an encounter, it was console off, recording, and run over. What's up, Rags? This one's pretty easy. It's the last tile of the... I took it super slow, but last tile, or the pillar tile, the top tile, lining up with the pillars. Make sure to take off Ricard's fire time as well. And I was like, okay. I was like, I'm going to be like 20 seconds ahead, which is enough. And then the cutscene started and I was like... Oh, fuck, this cutscene. This is a much, much longer cutscene than I was like, oh... I was like, no, this cutscene's super long. And I was just like, jeez, man. I was like, get the Hiryu in here and get me out of here, brother, please. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, you're sacrificing yourself. Thank you. Thank you. Let me out, please. Please. Please, let me out. And I was like, fuck, 5 stars. I was like, that's... I was like... I was like, look. I'd still do it. I'd still do it. But I was like, now? Like, I can't make a single mistake. I have to gun it. Everything has to be perfect. My heart was pounding harder than... Honestly, weirdly enough, I think my heart was pounding harder physically for this than it was for, like, FF8 World Record. Or at least I could... Because, like, I was just super nervous for 8 World Record. But when it was this, it was like my heart was physically pounding in a way that felt more overwhelming than FF8 Record. Which is crazy, because FF8 Record meant infinitely more to me. But I'm like, look, I'm 5 seconds ahead, and I only missed World Record by 2. And I know that I have some cleanup to do in Jade Passage specifically. So, I basically just had to, like, gun it. I couldn't stop and check to make sure that I was lined up correctly. I had to just do it and hope that I was, or know that I wasn't. Like, I think... Oh, there's one that I think I paused, like, a tile too early. But it was one of those where I had to just be, like, super decisive and not sit around and wait. This is the last screen in the game, by the way, with any flashing lights. Thank you, Blue Harvey. So yeah, flashing light warning one last time for the run. A little bit of a slowdown there. Luckily, I've done a couple of, like, playthroughs of Jade Passage to Emperor 2. Like, The end split is just the credits again because I timed this game differently than speedrun.com. I've done enough run-throughs of just Jade Passage entry to Emperor 2 that I felt very confident going through here. Palamecia Tower, I think as punishment I need to walk through that Johnny like 5 times in a row without any mistakes. And then I'll feel a lot better about it. But I don't think anyone on this earth is beating that Emperor 1 split. Not for a while. Yeah, everyone died except for Ricard, and he just tanked every hit and killed everything in one shot. Which is faster because there was no time waste on Maria and Firion even attempting to cast any spells. It's not even necessarily faster for the spells to hit, it's just safer because you're dealing with the knights quicker. Or in fewer turns, rather. But I think, as far as RTA, it's actually slower. So yeah, using up Firion's MP last, because I want to kind of get in the rhythm of just focusing on Firion. And again, he's got 40 HP, so I can use all of my same HP markers as Guy. But usually you don't have Firion poisoned at this point in the game, or you shouldn't have Firion poisoned at this stage. So this was kind of just taking advantage of... It's one of those like good/bad situations where it's like, yeah, Firion died in Emperor 1, but it made Emperor 1 way faster, and now he's poisoned, so I don't have to, what's it called? I don't have to move my cursor to heal. I can just heal Firion. So I save like a fraction of time every heal. That one I took really slow because I mucked that one up in in one of my practice playthroughs. But then as I'm coming through here, I'm like, I was like, this is a decent amount of time to save on Jade Passage. I'm like, bang, and I'm like, 11? I'm like, okay, nah, we're on now. I was like, we're on. We're getting it now. 100%, we're on. Take this one super slow. This one's the only one that gives me, like, any grief. Yeah, so I was talking about it before. I guess just to remind anyone, every step you take, let's say, like, for example, it doesn't exactly work like this, but for the sake of conversation, I'll explain it this way. Every tile you move adds 1 to your danger value. Let's say every time it hits 50, so every 50 steps you take, it's going to give you an encounter and reset the danger value back to 0. Restoring MP or HP also resets your danger, also adds 1 to your danger value. So what you can do is get to 49 danger value, heal or use an ether or a potion. And then that will tick your danger value to 50, which tries to give you an encounter, but it can't because you're in the menu. You can't get an encounter in a menu. So now it just resets your danger value to 0, and you can carry on as if you got the encounter. That's why we have poison. That's why we have a poisoned character. So that every step we take, they're taking damage that we can then heal back up. Because Cure won't let you restore somebody on full health. It'll only give you credit for the heal if you do a full party heal. But then that will increase your danger value by 4 instead of 1. Which, in turn, throughout a dungeon, especially a long dungeon like Pandemonium, it's going to give you more encounters because you're bringing it further forward than, you know, that list of encounters that you're going to get. You're pulling every single one closer. That's sort of the way that I think about it. And, like, every heal on a single target, you're already bringing every single future encounter forward as well, if you think about it. So by healing like a 4-character party every single time, it's just gonna be, it's too much. So yeah, restore Firion's MP with the ether here, which also, again, MP and HP restoration lets you skip encounters. Again, unless it's an elixir, because elixirs set your stats to full. They don't restore, they set. That's how I think of it. So yeah, this was like heavy breathing, heart pounding so hard while I'm walking to the end of this, dude. I was so scared. Like, this run just got carried by Emperor 1, basically. Because it needed to. With that death in the Leon split, it needed to be carried by an insane Emperor 1. Tell you what, I don't think I'm ever making a mistake in Palamecia Castle ever again. These two visual cues are super easy. First tile on the stairs walking up. And then if you hug the wall, it's one tile after the first mask. And there's only... There's the orange room, the purple room, the end room, and the Emperor room. Yeah, there's only 4 rooms in the game left, and one of them doesn't have any encounters on it in this step route, so... Like... I think at this point I was literally talking to myself. Another interesting problem, though, is that because every time you use a cure, it gives cure XP, Firion's actually got a level 2 cure now, which costs 2 MP. So now... that cure tome that I bought, I'm actually going to delete Firion's cure, and then I couldn't find it in the menu. I'm looking at it, you fool. There. I'm going to reteach him cure to set it back at level 1. Elixir him to restore his MP. Beautiful. Very slow, but how genius is that, dude? Why bother grinding for MP? Just go and grab the ether and the elixir. It's way quicker. And have a manip, 1, that works on real hardware, and 2, that it gives you an MP boost right at the start of the game. Bang. I was a little worried, admittedly. I was pretty worried because that menu was super slow. But, like, these are the kind of, like, routing improvements that I had to make because my Berserk Tome manipulation is so much weaker. Because I don't have, like, a modded... USA NES. Or I'm like, and I'm also not, I'm not an emulator guy. So. This screen's super easy. 3rd statue. Bang. So I still got cat hair in my mouth. Yeah, I switched to world record comparison here. Very stupid. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have looked at this. Such a dummy. Quickly check the rows. I was like, if I don't have the fire tome on Leon, I don't care. I'm not taking time to check. Here we go, Emperor 2. Reminder, world record is a 209.43. Flee, flee, flee. Equip the fire tome very carefully. Send the attack. Emperor 1 actually gets first turn and does swing, but it doesn't land on Leon. Bang! Yes! There it is. Oh, beautiful. Again, I timed this differently because No Major Glitches times the game differently. But like, oh my god, dude. I was like, finally. Thank the heavens that that Leon split didn't ruin the whole run. I would have been so sad. Still mashing dialogue. Timing ends when the music fades out after the credits. But I was just sat there like mashing the dialogue and I was like, oh, yes, dude, thank goodness. Thank goodness, man. And Leon, despite clutching the run, leaves. Would 205 be possible? This run would have been either a high 205 or a low 206 if I did not have that, if I didn't have that mistake in the Leon split. So 205 is possible, but I don't think that I personally will try and push for it. I'm going to try and push to like 206, 207. I think. Depends. It's just because Emperor 1, man. To get a 205... Actually... Basically, like, 205 is more possible the more risk you add. That's its problem. Because to get a 205, you basically need to replicate my Emperor 1 fight. Which is going to be nigh on impossible, by the way. I'm going to lose time to that split every single time. My Emperor 1 split was only so fast because I made a mistake and also got incredibly lucky. So the way that you would do it is you would only do 1 rep of the manip to get your tomes, and you would not buy wall for Maria. What you would do instead, you get wall. Oh, so you don't get wall. And then against the Chimeras, you just hope that they don't kill you. And you just take them out with Fire Tome, which is already stupid risky. Then on top of that, on Emperor 1, you would also have to just take out every single thing with Fire Tome. And not get unlucky. So this run already has... It doesn't have many moments of RNG, but the moments of RNG that it has are just deterministic of like whether or not the run will continue, right? So with wall and warp, it is slower. However, the risk is way lower. It would be... There would need to be route changes in that regard. You would only do 1 rep, not by wall. Risk the run even more on Chimeras. Risk the run... Like... And it only gets worse, right? Because... Let's say, like... 1 in 5 runs make it past Chimeras with that strat. Then 1 of those 5 runs... will die to this. Or, like, sorry, 1 in 5 runs of those runs will survive Mysidia Tower, and 1 in 5 of those runs will survive Emperor 1. Like, it gets even, like, worse. So, it's just not quite worth it at this stage. So, I'll probably work this down to a 206, 207. I just need to live Emperor 1, and then I'm fine, basically. I don't even need a good Emperor 1, I just need to live it. And yeah. So coming into the end of time. There we go. Oh. Yes. Do you feel that breeze, everyone? It's the winds of the summit. We have a new world record. Oh, damn. I had 3, whoops. I had 3 pings in the FF1, FF2 Discord. Whoops. I've just done it again. And I was like, man, everyone must be so stoked about my new world record. And then it turns out that a bot just joined. What a shame. They didn't even ping the FF2 channel. Lame. But yeah. I'm really happy about that. I'll bring the splits back up. It is a real shame, once again, that there was so much time loss on a split that is meant to be pure execution. But I think previously, something that was quite frustrating is because I was only 1 second off of record before, 2 seconds or something off of record before, right? but I learned so much more about the game shaving those last 2 seconds than anything else. Like, I learned that I was doing save scumming on the world map wrong, and I was losing 20 seconds almost, like 15 to 20 seconds in the very first split of the game. And so I'd always get in my head when runs were going wrong, like, dude, if I just knew that, like 2 weeks ago, I'd already have record. Or if the, you know, if I could do the same manip and not lose a minute and a half every single Berserk Tome manip, I'd already have record. If I knew this, I'd already have record, XYZ. And like that kind of thinking can really easily frustrate you. And I think it was putting more pressure on me before. I think now that like I have the record, pressure's off, I think I'm going to be able to like, I think I'm going to be able to improve this very easily. But yeah, I wanted to restream this with like commentary and everything because initially I didn't want to stream this game because I thought that the poison sounds would be like really annoying and no one would like give a shit. But Worcester actually convinced me to shut up and just stream it, basically. And so I did. And so I'm really happy that people were, cared enough to follow it and enjoy watching the run and cheer me on and everything. And so I felt that it was right to, even though I did get this off stream, it's I think necessary to still show this run in like a streamed capacity for everyone that was supportive and whatever. But yeah, definitely not the end. I'm gonna do my best to try and still shave a little bit of time off of this. I want to at least cut another minute or two barrier. But yeah, this I'll also upload alongside the run on my second channel as like a what's it called? Like a supplementary video to it, a commentated run for anybody that, because we don't really have like a commentated run so far for this game. So I think it'd be nice to have somebody talk along the run and explain what's actually happening. So for anyone that is watching it through that, thank you for watching as well. For all the people that joined in the chat, thank you for watching as well. And with that, yeah, we'll wrap it up there.